Patrick Foran. Yeah. Very sorry. Thank you very much for speaking with us today. Can you tell us about the Thomas Francis Meagher Flag Day?
Well, no, you can't see the picture. You can't see it there, no?
Yeah.
I went to New York about 10 years ago, just before the two towers went down, and I took part in the parade, the St. Patrick's Day parade. Now, the Waterford Association had the privilege of leading that parade, because a man called Thomas Francis Meagher, he started a regiment called the Fighting 69, the New York Regiment, and he was the founder of that regiment. So they have the privilege of leading the parade every year, and they have mass in the St. Patrick's Cathedral on Fifth Avenue. So I took part in that year. So the following day, I was staying in central Manhattan. So in fact, in a bar there, a girl said, "Oh," she said, their armory just around the corner." "Oh," I said, "Could I buy a flag?" "Oh, certainly." She had a flag in the bar, actually, and she did a flag. "Could I buy one?" "Yeah, certainly," she said. So the following morning I went around, so there was a fellow there, and I told her who I was, where I was from. I said, you're founder from Waterford, that's where I'm from, I said. I was here on the holiday for a few days, so I told her the story. So I bought the flag and brought it over. So shortly afterwards, they found that Martin Coll started the statue was set up on the mall there. And I was there for the inaugural ceremony. So I was there with the flag, you know. So several politicians there said, "Who are you? Who do you speak for? I just had the flag, you know. I'm an ex-soldier myself, you know. I'm just honouring a very famous local man." I said, "That's all, nothing more than that. I'm not belong to any club or politics, nothing like that," I said. No axe to grind, just honouring a famous local man," I said, so I did that anyhow, and they made a video of it, and RTE made a video too. I got only a few seconds on that, but shortly after then I saw a thing. I noticed that Meagher actually founded them. He actually started. He brought in the Cycler. He was the one that brought in the Cycler, and it was first shown on the Mall there. He first flew that on the Mall. So I started off there. That was on the 7th of March 1848. So exactly 100 years later, I started. I'd redo that. I said I did it myself. So I stood there on the Mall with the flag, and a man called Mr. Power there, he took a photo of me and it appeared in the local paper. And I started it, and shortly afterwards a company started, not a company but a group. I can't think of the names, but they started a company just to promote this. So I wasn't involved in that, but I started it, and that's in the local papers, you know. But it was my idea, and I started it. And I also started the regimental flag, because it's good it's good to promote tourism in the city. It starts the tourist seasons. I think it's a good thing for the city to promote. We're so self-effacing in Waterford, you see. So you know that we are that way. We should push it. We're not pushy enough. We should be more pushy. So I said I'd do my little bit to start this off. To start off the tourist season, and I do this. So that's how I started anyhow. And every year now, I lay a wreath down there on the anniversary of Gettysburg on the Thomas Francis Meagher Memorial. This year, that's on the 3rd of July every year. So I lay a wreath there every 3rd of July. So I'm well known for that purpose. But I'm a local historian. I know my family are from Waterford, from the Mills Walk originally, and that's where I'm from, you know. I have Ballybricken roots, so I know all the history there, you know. Actually, our next door neighbour, the man called Captain Clooney, actually, he was famous in that regiment too. In fact, there's a memorial to him in the old graveyard in Ballybricken. And he's not buried there, but there's a memorial there. And I lay a wreath there too every year. And there's a man, he was Clooney used to come over here. No, there's a man called George Clooney. He descended off the famous actor. He was to come over here about 3 years ago or thereabouts. And the man from Kilkenny was going to promote it. Apparently his roots are in a place called Tullahogue. That's where his family were from. But he'd be a cousin of George Clooney. And he, for some reason, fizzled out. It didn't come to anything, you know. But I must pursue that again now too, because years ago, apparently, the soldiers come every year from the Fighting 69th Regiment and lay a wreath there on that thing. But that fizzled out about 10 years ago or more. Just after the last war, they did it for about 10 years. It just fizzled out. So we started again now. I noticed there recently someone put a poppy wreath on it recently. He would be a Fenian actually. He wouldn't be a man now. He'd be anti-British actually. Clearly he would be. He was in the Papal Army before he joined the fight in '69, and he fought for great distinction in the Papal Army. But he would be a nationalist, and he would be one of the young Ireland. He'd be a follower of Thomas Francis Meagher. He'd be of that era. And he'd be obviously a follower of Meagher, but they would be very anti-British, as history shows. They believe they're what they call physical force men. They're the Fenians actually. But I don't know who put the wreath there, poppy wreath, but that seems, to me anyway, it seems very inappropriate, to say the least of it.
The first day that you done the flag ceremony yourself, what happened on that day? Can you tell us about that day?
Well, I just appeared there with the flag, and it was a cold day, I think it was a rainy day. Local public, Paddy said he had a cold spot today, he said, Andy Jordan actually. So I don't mind. So I was standing there with the flag, had a warm coat, my hat on me, I was well tugged out for it. I was standing there and the wind howling around me, and it was quite a cold day. It was a March day, it's the 7th of March, that's the anniversary of it. So a man called Power came along, he's a photographer. They call him Pudgy Power. He lives up the road there. He came along and took my photograph and appeared in the local paper. So I started off then, and as I say, a local group. They started a group to promote it, and I took off from there. So it's getting more and more prominent now as time goes on. So it's a good start to the tourist season, I think. That's you can do that. It might sound a bit sort of self-seeking, but still it's good for the town, really. And I'm quite happy to do that, So why not?
And do you still participate in
I do. I'm not a member of that group, but I still do the thing on for Battle of Gettysburg every year, 3rd of July. That's the anniversary of Gettysburg. Because apparently, there again, I wanted the army to take part in this. I'm an ex-soldier myself. I get 5 years in the FCA myself. In fact, I was recommended for officer training in it. But in any case, I proposed that the army should take part in that. But for some reason, the army, in their wisdom, did not take part in it. They still Miller do the honours. But it seems odd to me that, the American army sent over soldiers, about 6 men come over every year now. A man called, what's his name? Lieutenant Colonel Jim Tierney comes over, and about 4 or 5 guys with him. But I think the army should be there. If they send their soldiers, the army, in a country, there's a certain protocol. And I think in a country, in a republic, the president is not the prime minister, but he's the head of the army. He's the chief of the army. That's why David Eyre was called the chief in the olden days. He was known as the chief. That's how the word Taoiseach came to be used. That's the Gaelic word for chief. But his title was the chief because, in the first Dáil in 1919, he was the first president. He wasn't known as Taoiseach then, but his nickname was the chief. But he was the president. His title was president. But he was in jail at that time. He was over in a place called Newgate Prison. Oddly enough, the man who stood in for a man called Coll he was TD for Waterford, West Waterford. He was the first Taoiseach. Or he would be the president with the title. He was president of Dáil at the time, but he was a Waterford man. He actually is double a man, but he was TD for Waterford, Coll for Donegal, West Waterford area. But he took David Eyre's part. But that's why. But that's how he was known the chief. And as I said, the army, the head of the army is the president, and he's the head of state. You see, and that's why I think the army should take it. The national army should not cast a reflection on the Slough Mirror, but they're not the national army. And I think if the army is placed to do it, that's protocol.
Okay.
So that's what I think.
And coming back to Waterford. Because you grew up in Waterford.
I did, yeah.
Do you have any particular memories of Waterford City growing up, particularly the city centre area, of either notable characters in the city centre or any particular events of the time before?
What saddens me now, a lot of the old, I'm 74 now, and a lot of the old pals have dropped away. Like, I mentioned one man, Tommy Wheeler. He was a great character. He used to compose his own songs. Now he was from Swing Garden Alley. Now his grandfather was the last town crier in Ireland, and he was a great character, well-known character too. But Tommy himself was a well-known character too, but as I say, he died last year. But then there's people like Eddie Winbury and all the old characters. Eddie's getting old now too. But there's people who have died off who are characters. But there was some very, very interesting. There was I knew all the old characters around the town, but as I say, like they're just dying off now, and sadly enough, like the older people who are the real characters, amusing characters, seem to be dying off. Like that man Wheeler I mentioned, he was a very funny character, very witty man altogether. Like.
Can you tell us a bit about him?
Well, he used to compose songs and so on. Like, one song was the Bishop Casey song, and we all know Bishop Casey and Annie Murphy, all that, but that controversy, you know. But Tommy used to sing that song, and in fact he was barred in the local pub over that. He was told not to come in again, stop singing that song, you know. But he became famous for this, the Bishop Murphy, sorry, the Annie Murphy and Bishop Casey song. But he kept singing those songs. There was another song called about the Lisduggan robbery. He reckoned there was some kind of a conspiracy there, like some of the guards didn't like that at all. Like he was kind of let it be known, like they didn't like that song. They used to like the guards, you know. But he liked it. You know, he was kind of an iconoclast. He liked denying people, like pulling sacred cow's tail, shall we say, like, you know. But that was Tommy's bag. But he was a very popular character, and I knew him very well, and I used to think with him actually. But there's lots of characters around us. But in fact, as I say, like Eddie Winbury had a better knowledge of. He had all the old songs and so on, and there were lots of old songs. Then who comes to mind? Denny Corcoran. Denny was a great musician too, and a raconteur as well. He was a composer as well. And he was a great Ballybricken man too. Denny, what was his song? My City of Music he composed. And that was it. They made there was not a video, but a tape of that. And it's still, I have a copy of it myself. I can give you a copy if you wanted, like if you want to play it sometime. My City of Music. And but lots of people. But music was a great thing in Waterford in the olden days. We used to sing in pubs and so on. I used to sing in Kerwick's pub until recently with Tommy Kerwick's in Ballybricken, but that fizzled out too. Unfortunately, Tommy he sold the pub there, and I think he's more or less semi-retired now. He's out of the pub business anyhow. But that was a very popular thing years ago, pub singing, like, you know, which unfortunately is dying out now too. Alfie Hale does a bit of it still at the moment, but as I say, unfortunately, it seems to be on the dying out.
Is there any other particular positive things you can think of, or thinking back, like you're saying, the pub singing, that things that used to happen of interest in Waterford, like particular things in Waterford that would have been unusual to Waterford, but like bits of fun?
I went to St. Eckland's School years ago, and that was a good school too. And we had our own Boy Scouts, the De La Salle Boy Scouts, and we had a pipe band. They're still on the go with the pipe band. They still play down on the quay there every Monday, I think Monday night. But that was a great thing years ago, the Boy Scouts. We would cycle to Woodstown every Saturday. There'd be two brothers who would cycle out with us to Woodstown. And we stayed the whole day there. And they used to give their time free for that, like, you know. Obviously, people knocked the Christian Brothers. And I mean, okay, there were a few bad apples, I know that. But I found myself now, most of them are very good men altogether. I got my first job as a Waterford Glass, and the master got me a job there. I wasn't very good academically, so he said, Paddy, I was only 14. In fact, I was the youngest cutter ever in Waterford Glass. I had one day over 14. I went to work in short pants, believe it or not. I went there, I was to go to work one Wednesday. My mother went into Darrow's, and she ordered a pair of jeans. Out of jeans, no jeans. You've got to go to work. She said, Mammy, I have one short pants. You've got to go to work. You're due in the morning. So I arrived out in there one day, and I met a man called Jim Brophy. He's a funny man too. What are you doing here? I had a small freckle-faced young fella. I'm working here. You're not working here, boy. I said, short pants on me. I am, I said, yeah. So I was a day over 14, and I started working in the Johnstown branch of Waterford last, the old Johnstown place. A day over 14. That's one record. I was fully qualified a day over 19. That's one record I broke. I still hold the record as far as I know.
And what was it like working in there? What were the conditions like?
It was lovely in there. And at that time, we would be all singing. I remember back in actually at that question, in the 1950s, I worked with a man called Blackie Hennessy, and he used to take off Frank Sinatra. And a famous song at the time was, "Hey there, you with the stars in your eyes. I don't stay hit." And he started singing, then the whole curtain shop would break into this thing. We were all singing away. And that was the atmosphere at that time, so I was singing this song. Hey there, you with the stars in your eyes. Love never made a fool of you. You used to be too wise. So that's an old song. That'd be before your time, I'd say. But that was the atmosphere at that time. We had a foreman called Oscar Ilg, a German foreman. Ilg didn't like me for some reason. He took exception to me. That's the reason I left the place. I left and joined the police. I joined the police in 62 actually. Because Ilg myself, there was kind of a personality clash. He just didn't like me. Like, he was the typical German. Like, my idea was, I said, well, he said his idea was he'd be the straight lines and all geometric patterns. I didn't see it that way. If I was doing a pattern, I just do it freehand, like say flowers or something. I start there and I finish and I think of finishing. He didn't believe in that. Or he must do it his way or no way. And it has to be all more or less geometric and all exact. It's typical, what they call Teutonic thoroughness. He was like that down to the T, but he did not like me at all. I was the reverse. So I packed up and I left in 62. I joined the Guards then. I gave 3 years in the Guards. Yeah. But I came back here and I started my own business in Waterford then. Cutting glass, cutting and engraving. I still do a bit of cutting and engraving, just not much now. It's only a hobby basically. But I still do that. Still cut and engrave glass. That bowl there now, see there, that's one of what they call. Yeah, take up that. That's a qualification piece. Do you want to photograph that? When you finish 5 years, you do that bowl, and you cut that, and that's called a test piece. So you cut that and you test it, and I did that in Waterford glass, and it's called a test piece. See my name on it? You get it?
Oh yeah.
That's called a test piece, yeah. But I guess 7 years in Waterford glass. But they were happy days. It's a great fact. Would you believe, in one time, a man told me, I said, it's a great fact. I said that the wage bill was £60 million a year, around there, see. It was double that, he said. Double that. And in their heyday, they were double that. That was mostly from North America, but 95%. There was little or no home sales, but 95% was North American sales, you know. And it's an awful pity that factory ever closed down. I often say that if that factory was in Dublin or Cork, it wouldn't close down. It wouldn't be allowed to close down. And unfortunately, we got a bad name, and they started importing inferior glass from other countries and selling it under the Waterford label. And that's what the slide. We got a bad name then, you see. I used to have people come here like they buy glass from me, the private customers. But I noticed about 10 years ago, a graduate fall away, to drop off, because of this. We got a bad name. Well, see, once your name goes, I don't know, a pub or in fact any business, once your name goes, it's very hard to re-establish. You can't re-establish. Like a pub, if you get a bad name, say a bad drink, forget about it, you're gone. Same with a factory. If you get a bad name, you're gone. Especially on the American market, if you get pushed off there. One time, Anthony Paddy said, "I get you onto the American market, but don't mess up." He said, "If you once get a bad name on the American market, you won't get back there." I said, I do all handmade stuff. I said, all my, be careful. He said, and I did, and I used to go on. But as I said, like, it rubs off. There was a kind of a fall off effect. We all got a bad name. There's a few people in the city here who I worked for a company called Penrose Glass for a few years, and they were a small private company. They're still on the go down there in Johnstown, and they used to do lovely glass down there too. But as I say, it affected everybody. The city is shock and harm, like an awful loss to the city, terrible loss. And then a lot of the old guys are dying off now too. The older cutters, you know. The pity, really. Like. And a lot of that man I mentioned, Hennessy, he was a great singer too. He used to take off Frank Sinatra. He used to call him the king. He thought he was like the king. He was singing like the Frank Sinatra, you know. So, as I say, old characters like that. Jimmy DeWell, he was called Careless Hands. He was a Waterford soccer goalkeeper. But poor Jimmy, he let a goal in one time. The only goal I ever let in. The people have very short memory. What about all the goals I saved? He got the name Careless Hands over the one single goal he let in. But he was a great singer too. his song, all his famous song is Pennies from Heaven. Oh, and Denny Corker and all those fellas. This was a known town for pub singing, famous for it. But unfortunately, it's dying out. It has died out. Is that down the door?
No.
Yeah. Those guys that they were.
They'll be sacked. How are you on for a time? No, we're coming up short. Let me check on that.
No.
Oh, no, yeah.
They let me down again. No, the so-called age action group, and I can't. Unfortunately, I was in hospital there a while ago. And I was unwell for I can't do much work myself at the moment. So they're going to just cut the grass for me and so on. But I suppose they'll come in due course.
And was the old factory in Johnstown, or where was it?
I hear the story about that. The story there too. In 1947, a manor. In 1947, a man called Karol Bacik arrived in Waterford. Now, he was a Czechoslovak. He had an idea. So he had no office. The first factory was in a place called Ballybricken, in a field just alongside the soccer pitch. He started the first factory there. And he had a meeting. He had no office, so he had a meeting in the Savoy Cinema. They had a restaurant there upstairs in the Savoy. So a few of the local big shots, I think about 7 of them met him there. I won't mention their name because it'd be libelous. But they said, Mr. Patrick, what's your plan? What do you want to do? Well, he said, I believe he said you had a famous glass factory here. He himself was in the glass business for generations in Czechoslovakia. It's his family business. He said, I'm going to revive the famous Waterford glass, he said, the old Penrose factory. He said, one guy said, who shall be nameless. But he said, look, Mr. Patrick, that won't work. That's, no way, he said, that won't work. So they were very negative. He didn't get one shilling. I wouldn't give him a bob. Now, I can't mention the name. One man who did give him money, and I think he gave him $100,000 actually, was a man called Knox. He had a shop opposite the cathedral. He was an old IRA man actually, but he saw the potential of it. He got the franchise for it. That's where he got the franchise. A fellow called Billy Kehoe. Billy Kehoe is his nephew. Billy told me he made billions out of Waterford last because they got the franchise from it because your Kehoe put this $100,000. But anyhow, Batty kept going. All he had was $15,000 himself. That's what I thought. Started industry. $15,000. Started off anyhow. Kept going for about 2 years. All kind of difficulty, teething problems, pots breaking and so on. So in 1949, he was on the road practically, so he had no option but taking more directors. So there was a man called Paddy McGrath. He was head of Irish Glass Bottle. He had a company in Dublin. He had himself a man called Fitzpatrick, and Paddy McGrath, and a man called Griffin. Griffin had an old IRA background. They put in £5 million between them. That's about big money in 1950 into the factory. Now, but for that money, that factory would have closed down. But they put £5 million in. Now, in 1955, I can distinctly remember a man called Noel Griffin. The better heaven of the poor man. He's buried now. Now, Noel Griffin, he's buried out in Ballygorham. I remember there about 3 years ago, I thought there was a grave, and I went up there. It was a cold day. And he's the last grave on the left-hand side, and every grave was covered in wreaths, except one grave. Noel Griffin, Freeman of Waterford, no wreath. That's a fact. I said to him, we'll see about it. It was never seen to though. But that man, they put in £5 million, but in 55, Noel Griffin got up on the back of a lorry. Now he said, we've turned the corner. They didn't make a penny profit for 5 years. Now they were quite willing to put that money into it. Now no locals, with the exception of Knox. And that's why I make a point about I asked Billy that. I talked to Billy recently. Yeah, that's right. So he did put money into it. That's right. Yeah. And that's a well-known fact, and it can be verified. But the rest wouldn't. I can't say I wouldn't mention names. But in any case, they can easily find out. But in any case, it went on like that. And in 1960, one of these guys again approached him. One of these. He was up and flying then, up and flying in 60, and he approached Noel Griffin. Now, Griffin was a well-known nationalist. He was a very staunch nationalist. And he said, Mr. Griffin, he said, I'm here on behalf of several local men who I'd like to invest in Waterford Glass. And Griffin, he could be quite, what's the word I use? He could be a bit brusque occasionally. He was a nice man. I said to us one time, look, if anybody any problems, my door is always open. He loved that fact. It's his own baby, you see. That's how he looked at it. This is my baby, like, you know. My door is always open. So this guy said, well, we'd like to invest in Waterford last. Now I said, Mr. X, go back and tell your colleagues to leave your money in England where it always was. You'll never invest in Waterford last. Good day, and I'm rather busy, he said. It's not, this guy was he didn't like that. He twisted his nose, he twisted his tail. I'm rather busy now at the moment. He wasn't busy, like, in other words, buzz off. Oh yeah. He had the measure of it. When he needed money, this guy wouldn't give him money, you see. Yeah. But that's as I said, they made, that was the wage bill, about 130 million a year was the average annual wage bill, mostly North American money. And that's lost to the city. That's a terrible loss altogether. That made this city. It put Waterford on the map. That's why I'm interested in the history of Waterford. And like the fight in '69, all that thing is, that's all. But this is a very famous city, like, you know. And I said to one time, a guy said one time, again, I don't like to mention names, this was never a Viking city. What do you mean this is a Viking? No, I said, it wasn't a Viking city. Who won the battle of Clontarf? I said, which is well known, Brian Boru. Brian Boru wasn't involved, I said. The man was in his bed at prayer during the course of the World Battle. A Waterford man was that. What, he said? The king of Waterford. I said, Waterford was a kingdom at that time. It was known as the Daisha. I said, you know the Daisha? I said, the man's name was Muhla O'Fuelon. He was the king of the Daisha, I said. He actually won that battle. Brian was 73 at the time. He wanted to take part in the battle, but he was regarded because he was considered too old. His son, Murrah was a bit of a hothead. Now, the Irish army, as that Viking army, they were both of them on 3 columns. Now, apparently, a man made a mistake by doing what we call a faux pas. He made a wrong move, and this man, Muhla O'Fuelon, spotted it. Now, had he not spotted this, the Irish army would have lost that battle. Now, a man called Paul Vic Pearse, a very famous man, Pearse wrote an article in a book called Clive Sullish in 1915, just before the Rising, and he was the one who highlighted that point, the point about O'Fuelon's point in the part in the battle. And he said that his part was important. When Brian, of course, was killed in his descent by a fleeing Viking, a man called Brodar killed him. But when the battle was over, O'Fuelon was buried with him in Armagh. He was taken to Armagh, Brian was, and buried there. There was 12 days of national mourning, with Te Deums, like high masses and all. 12 days. That's how important that battle was. And as I say, O'Fuelon, actually his skull was buried with him in Armagh. And to this day, they're buried in Armagh, Brian Boru and the Hiking of Ireland and O'Fuelon. But for some reason, O'Fuelon, I'm just highlighting this point now. He hasn't been honoured until now. I'm the one. I'm highlighting this point right now, that he was the one turning the course of the battle. The battle would have been lost but for Muhla O'Fuelon. We owe the battle. That was the most important battle in Irish history, the Battle of Clontarf. There was something like 20,000 men killed on both sides. We don't know the exact figures, but around that kind. It lasted all day long. A very, very bloody battle. But that man won that battle. And again, why hasn't he been honoured? Why ignore him? He's been airbrushed out of history. And we're highlighting our Viking heritage. Look, the Vikings came, so the English, so the Normans. I say mention them. Why this overemphasis? I'm of Gaelic origin myself. In fact, I'm descended of the Gaelic aristocracy, just like O'Fuelon. And why are we being ignored? We've been airbrushed out of history, and I resent that. Actually, I'm making this point now. I resent that. Why not call a spade? Be fair, be even-handed. Give credit to everybody. No, I'm not anti-English or anti. I said my point is call a spade. Let the cards fall where they may. Give honour where honour is due. That's my point. For that man, I'm making that point now. Muhla O'Fuelon. Why hasn't he been mentioned? He was the king of the dish. And again, like when the Normans came in here, again. This people don't seem to know this. Who authorised the Anglo-Norman attack on this city? The Catholic Church did. There was only one English pope in history. His name was Nicholas Breakspere, but his name in religion was Adrian IV. That was his name in religion. He actually authorised the Anglo-Norman attack on this city. Now there's a theory now that called papal infallibility, which I don't subscribe to. And certainly St. Peter couldn't claim that. But in that day, most people accepted that principle. There was a thing called papal infallibility. He made and unmade kings. That was where he did it in England. He did it in Germany. The King of Germany at one time, he lived in the snow for 3 days waiting to see the Pope. The Pope made him kneel for 3 days in the snow. And that's like the accepted fact throughout Christendom, what they call Christendom, that the Pope had that right to make and unmake kings, because he was seen as Christ's figure on earth, which I don't accept either, because that's a moot point. But in any case, they were the ones that authorised the attack on this country. To this very day, a friend of mine, a well-known artist, and this man now, he's a man called Paul de Gomahona. I said, do you know that? I said, that the Popes actually authorised the attack on this country. I didn't know that, he said. So he wrote to the I don't believe it. Paddy, I don't tell lies, I said. I deal in the truth, I said. He wrote to him. Now, he was commissioned to make the peace on behalf of the Irish people. That's important. He was a goldsmith in Cashel. Wrote to the papacy about the time when the Pope was here. Got no reply. Now, I believe that's a known fact, and yet they wouldn't even reply. But that cost the deaths of not 1,000, not 2,000. It cost the deaths of around our country, the slide our nation, and the slide the Irish nation actually. Millions of people lost their lives because of that. Now I'm saying, I'm Paddy Foran, and I'm saying this. This is weighty stuff, serious stuff. But that's a fact, and I defy contradiction. I'm making a statement here now. But that's a very serious matter. But to claim infallibility, St. Peter never claimed that. Even the leading man of the day, a man called Dr. Dillinger, a German, he was one of the leading men, he was a theologian. He said, no, that's not so. He wouldn't accept that. When that was first promulgated, but that was only promulgated about 1870 or something. And he said, no, I don't agree with that. He didn't agree. And he was a leading theologian in the Catholic Church. He said, no, I don't agree with that. But I wouldn't agree with that either. But people today, they got strange ideas. But that's the truth. The truth is strange in fiction, but there's nothing so. See, one thing, I know a guy one time, an army officer, and this man's character was taken, and it was during the arms trial. And a man in Dublin, the Archbishop of Dublin said to her, well, look, he said to her, Mrs. Kelly, he said, I tell you one thing, he said, the truth comes out in the end. I'm just telling you this, the truth will come out in the end. That's all I want to say to you now. And that's a fact. The truth is right. Nothing as powerful as truth, and the truth comes out in the end. And it will come out in the end.
Thank you very much for speaking to us.
You're welcome, yeah. You're welcome.